Welcome to the digital forum that has been topically titled Plant Trees Save the Planet. And if you look at the Slido, it seems that 50% of ourselves believe that it is the case and 50% are not convinced. And in September 2006, IUCN and WWF published a special issue of Arbor Vitae that was titled Forest Plantation, the Good, the Bad, the Ugly. And they were featuring various tree species and initiatives in lieu of the famous spaghetti westerns, heroes and villains. That being said, humans have been domesticating and growing trees since about 4000 BC in the Mediterranean land by olives, figs, myrrh. And in China, trees were cultivated from at least 2000 BC, while around 1000 BC, the Chu emperor created a forest service with the responsibility to preserving natural forests and reforesting the needed land, 1100 BC. Indigenous people, on their side, have domesticated and planted trees for time immemorial to be it Brazil, mangosteen, durian, and of course, some of our most consumed and trade goods come from planted exotic trees like olive, coffee, and cocoa. And this comes, unfortunately, with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, not really a new thing, this planting business, and it's linked to the spread of a lot of exotic, though we don't call them such as now, like apple or chestnut. It is well established and pretty useful, as I'm telling myself, while snacking on a few olives while preparing this talk. But here we are today, and we are reading a surge of definitive headline telling us that tree planting is bad, even evil, and won't help with our current degradation and climate change issue. And also, on the other side, that it's the panacea that is going to solve everything. And on top of it, it will solve everything for cheap. So trees, glorious trees, and let's plant 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion or more. And we see tree planting now growing into a global movement amid efforts to restore ecosystem balance and save the planet from the ravage of climate change. This is what we want, or at least what I want. But the simplistic assumption that if you need to offset your emission, you plant a tree is wrong, and both discourse and practice must change. Obviously, at CIFOR-ICRAF, we strive naturally on vegetation, celebrating its proliferation, in particular trees and forests, a vibrant landscape, livelihood, and biodiversity that they support. Detractors say that tree planting is a waste of time because it draws attention away from cutting fossil emissions, and in addition might result in unintended risk to indigenous people that will be evicted from their land for establishment of plantation, on biodiversity because of tree monoculture or natural grassland, on water because of exotic plantation sucking the soils dry, or even to climate change mitigation effort because it's a distraction supported by the fuel economy lobbies to continue business as usual. These critics are mainly focused on industrial plantation of fast-growing exotic species. On the other side, supporters say that trees help sequestering carbon, absorb pollutant, provide habitats, helps with water provision, and ensure rights to the land. These qualities are more often associated with small-scale woodlots, agroforestry system, or indigenous tree species planting. Clearly, we are not really seeing our forests for the trees here. And in this current polarized debate, it's both fundamentally wrong and totally unproductive. And there is a say that a bad workman is always blaming his tools. And in this case, both sides of the story are at the same time right. Tree planting is bad, and wrong, tree planting is good. So let us note first that in this debate, we are planting trees. Note that we always grow tomatoes or vegetables. So first come first, we should not be interested in planting trees, but in growing trees. And there is a big difference in terms of time, in terms of scale. This is a long-term endeavor. Tree growing is neither a simple climate and land degradation or good provisioning solution, nor the simple question of planting trees. Empirical evidence, otherwise, is very clear about the fact that growing the right tree in the right places is one of the most cost-effective actions to enhance canborne sinks, improve the water cycle, protect the soil, and support biodiversity. Later, my colleagues from CIFOR-ICRAF will introduce some tools for species selection and some appropriate technology. But also, they will bust a few myths about the reality of tree planting. We also have developed a CIFOR-ICRAF principle for successful planting to guide whoever is interested in doing things right. And beyond doubt, ecosystem restoration achieved through growing trees is an essential nature-based solution for climate change mitigation. However, landscape restoration program must be developed holistically with other important strategic measures, including the protection of local people rights, avoidance of deforestation, conservation of tree-less biomes, and preventing disturbance losses like fire. In a context of accelerating impact of climate change, adaptation strategies are crucial to enhance our ecosystem resilience. The adaptation of our remnant forest, including through tree growing measures, will be key to their maintenance as long-term effective carbon sinks. Such efforts must also include support for biodiversity and other crucial ecosystems that link to the sustainability of such resources as water and soil. Tree growing program will also be fundamental to increasing the sustainable provision of wood as the basis for a new circular bioeconomy, to support job creation in rural areas, and to decarbonize such industrial sectors as plastic, concrete, or steel manufacturing, which now rely entirely on non-renewable material. Ecosystem restoration, as promoted by the UN Decade on Ecological Restoration, will only be achieved at scale if adopted and implemented by all actors, from civil society, public agencies, and more importantly, to private sector. And here enters Resilient Landscape, a new initiative powered by CIFOR-ICRAF, whose aims is to connect private and public actors in co-beneficial landscape, provide evidence-based business case for nature-based solutions and green economy investment, leverage and de-risk performance-driven investment with combined financial, social, and environmental returns. And our colleague, Howard Shapiro, will tell you everything about it in a few minutes. Certainly, tree planting should not be seen as a simple and single solution that some advocate for, but it is a necessary strategic action to mitigate and adapt to climate change, enhance biodiversity, provide job and renewable resource for a regenerative economy that prosper in harmony with nature. So maybe we can and should grow an additional 1 trillion trees around the globe. Let's go for it. But if we don't take numerous other actions to address climate change, specifically including major cuts in fossil fuel emission, we may just be fueling the fire. In the end, it comes down to more trees and a lot of other action, not to more trees or a lot of other action. The current messaging or simplification of research outcome by the press to extrapolate a crisis where there is none proves that we urgently need to expand the ongoing science-centric dialogue to form the basis of a comprehensive national growing programs within long-term sustainable ecosystem restoration and management strategy. This is the raison d'etre of today's event. We must calmly continue to add research findings to the basket of knowledge about tree planting that we already have, owning and perfecting our capacity to shape programs with the local community that will manage and benefit directly from the new trees. Let us also remember that planting trees has a strong intergenerational nature, as our youth representative will tell us, and that the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. Enjoy the webinar.